Over the last 7.5 years, in the ministry, with the support of key stakeholders, has enjoyed fruitful collaboration from social partners and security through the National Tripartite Committee, Social Partnership Council, and the National has enjoyed fruitful collaboration from social partners through the National Labour Conference served as the highest level of engagement and the national amongst the tripartite constituents on issues of national interest. Especially as a result of discussions held at the National Labour of Engagement Conference, the government commissioned a review of the Labour Act 2003 as a result of discussions held at the National Labour and the Single Spine Pay Policy to meet the growing needs of workers. A review of the Labour Act 2003 Act through these efforts and the public sector workers policy to meet on the single spine of workers salary structure in 2023 received the highest adjustment of the base pay since the introduction of the single spine on the pay policy in 2010. Pay salary structure in 2023 within the same period received the highest adjustment of the base on the state pension payroll also had their monthly pension indexed upward by 25%. Within the same period, the 25% on the state pension payroll represent the highest pension indexation since the introduction of the contributory 3-tier pension scheme. The 25% increment represent the highest pension. These adjustments since the introduction of the government's commitment to maintaining high levels of income in 2008 for both workers and pensioners alike. These adjustments last year reflect government's Fair Wages and Salaries Commission conducted a nationwide payroll workers and pensioners. The exercise covered 120 public sector institutions consisting of 97 MMDAs, the exercise universities, 117 public sector institutions. Analysis of the 2023 payroll data MMDAs from the Controller and Accountant General's Department and showed a reduction in the wage bill. Analysis of the 2023 345 million from the Controller. The payroll monitoring department is still showed ongoing. A reduction in the wage bill by over 345 Madam Minister, I wish to thank the various labor unions for the successful organization of their respective congresses and the election of new leaders. I wish to thank to steer various labor with government of the unions, and wish them I also commend in their future endeavors. Union leaders at the global level cooperation. Ghana's own government, Dr. Anthony Yauba, the best immediate past Secretary General of the Trade Unions Congress, was at the global level to the governing body of the International Labour Organization for the period 2024 Secretary General of the Trade Unions 2027 was elected. I want to take this of the international opportunity to congratulate him on his new appointment and also wish him well for his tenure. I want to take this member of the governing board opportunity to congratulate him on his new appointment. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and also wish the world of work is changing rapidly as a member of the governing board be adequately prepared for it. As a result, the ministry has reviewed a number of sector enactments is changing rapidly to make them comprehensive and be adequately prepared for contemporary use. As a result, the ministry has reviewed a number of sector enactments, the Labour Act to make them comprehensive Act 651, Factories, Offices and Shops Act 1978. These include 328 and the Cooperative Societies Act 1968, NLC Decree 252. In 2003, the Labour Act 2003 and the Cooperative Societies Act 51 was promulgated to regulate the world of work and to promote decent work. They include the establishment of public employment centers, regulation of activities of private employment agencies, employment of persons with disabilities, include the establishment of the National Labour Commission. Regulation of activities after 2 decades of implementation of Act 651 persons with disabilities, there have been concerns expressed by social partners occasioned by the following factors. After 2 decades of implementation of Act 651, exercise of discretion in the interpretation of some aspects of the law, difficulty in implementing some aspects of the law, exercise of apparent disconnect with some relevant international labor difficulty in implementing provisions some aspects to respond to emerging issues in the world of work. Apparent disconnect with some relevant international labor standards that the current Labour Act has served to emerging issues in the world of work. A trip down memory lane will reveal that prior to its promulgation in 2003, the right to freedom of association was problematic. This was contrary to Article 21(1) of the 1992 Constitution of Ghana. Thankfully, as a result of the coming into force of the Labour Act, Article 21, there is trade union pluralism of the 1992 It has also liberalized industrial and labor relations. As a result of the coming into force of the Labour Act, it's provided a responsive legal regime it has that also liberalized more industrial and labor relations and resolution of labor issues. This has kept provided responsive constituents together over the years. That's allowed for more proactive treatment in the same vein, resolution of labor. The world of work has undergone dramatic changes to the extent that if care is not taken, the current labor law may soon not be fit for purpose. Has undergone as a result, a new labor bill 2004 2024 has been developed labor law to consolidate the gains made by Act 651. As a result, a new labor bill 2004, if approved by CAB 2024, subsequently enacted by Parliament to consolidate the gains made by Act 651. Prohibited actions if approved private by CAB agencies, subsequently enacted extension of maternity leave, the bill by an additional 2 weeks, and introduction of prohibited actions of protection against violence and harassment in the world of work. Extension of maternity leave. By an additional 2 weeks, an introduction of paternity leave. If I may protection against violence and harassment in the world of work. Government continues to reform and position the Youth Employment Agency as a facilitator of jobs via the teaming number of young persons in our government country. Continues to reform for the year under Youth Employment Agency as a facilitator 116,000, 6,000 waste and management, wage, community and sanitation 45,000, skill training 10,000, community health work 10,896, youth in agriculture 5,000, school support skill program 596, 32,000 in ICT 898. Young from 2017 to date have benefited from various models of the YEA program. The establishment of the Ghana European Center of Jobs, Migration and Development has also enhanced opportunities for the provision of decent employment for job seekers, particularly young persons who have the intention of migrating outside Ghana for decent employment or have returned from abroad for a variety of reasons. Who have the between 2017 and 2023 outside Ghana job placements or have undertaken by the Ghana European Center for a variety of reasons. Between 2017 and 2023 and PEAs job totaled 61,000 undertaken by the Ghana European Center. This comprised of 44,138 total 61,000 and 17,281 females. This in 2021 of 44,138 developed the National Green Jobs Strategy to provide a framework for the promotion of green jobs in Ghana. In 2021, from 2021 to develop July National Green Jobs Strategy, the Ministry has undertaken 6 regional sensitizations and 1 media training program to promote the creation of green jobs. As a result, the ministry has undertaken over 650 individuals from MMDs and the informal sector have benefited from the sensitization programs. As a result, Over 650 million individuals have also benefited from the informal regional sensitization program. From the sensitization program, data available to us indicates that 50 million houses 2021 benefited from the Green Jobs regional a total of 20,950 green jobs were created. That this was in sectors including renewable energy, services, total of 20,000, education, agricultural, waste management, and recycling. In the coming months, sectors in the Ministry, with the support of the ILO and SNV Ghana, will organize regional sensitization programs and recycling in the Bono and Savannah regions to provide the creation of green jobs and contribute to the protection of the environment. Government remains committed to rolling out to provide new programs to create employment and complement the delivery of public protection service of the environment. Government remains committed to rolling out, ladies and gentlemen, new programs to create as part of government's vision towards the transformation of the pensions industry. The National Pensions Regulatory Authority, NPRA for short, is rolling out as part of government's vision software to fully automate its internal external operations. The National Pensions Regulatory Authority is critical to safeguard pension fund assets, which are growing rapidly and require prudent management of its investment. It's critical to safeguard pension fund assets. Government resolved which are growing rapidly, the long-standing issue regarding the temporary pension fund accounts with public sector. In 2017, through collaborative efforts, an amount of 3.1 billion cedis was transferred by government account into the custodian accounts of public sector occupational pension schemes. An amount of 3.1 billion over the last was transferred by government. The number of zonal offices for the NPRA. In the first half of the year, SNIT launched the SNIT Digital app comprising of the SNIT mobile app, enhanced USSD, new website and self-service portal. These platforms the SNIT Digital Pension Services closer to the people. In the first half of the year, comprising of the SNIT mobile app, enhanced USSD, new website and self-service portal. These platforms comprising of the SNIT significantly improved operational efficiency and brought the added new convenience and to members and clients. These platforms SNIT also deployed the integrated social security administration system and brought added a comprehensive convenience to members operation system developed in-house. SNIT also deployed the integrated new social security administration system savings for SNIT, a comprehensive in excess of $2 operation system million developed in-house annually. The new system will enrollment onto the 3-tier pension scheme in excess has become seamless through the Ghana card dollars subsequently annually. Active contributors to the enrollment scheme onto the 3-tier increased from 1.35 million through the Ghana card in subsequent 2016 to more than 2 million as of April 2024. From 1.35 coverage million of pensions in the informal sector has also increased from 35,000 as of April in 2016 to 800. Coverage of pensions in the informal sector has also increased members from 35,000 in 2016 to 800. Average processing time for pension is now 7 days, as against an average of 4 months in the past. Similarly, so when somebody retires within 7 days, now the person can access his or her 4 months pension in the entitlements. So as when somebody retires the past within 1 days, now the person can access 2 or 3 months or her pension entitlements. It made 103,000 persons, self-employed persons, right, 2 or 3 months. An initiative which seeks to improve coverage and increase the contributor base of the SNIT scheme. The self-employment since the launch of the seed for initiative over an 103,000 persons and increase the contributor base of the have been enrolled onto the program. Since the launch of the seed in the first half of the year, over SNIT was able to collect 3,000 persons, self-employed persons, 90.8% of its projected private sector in the first half of contributions, which amounted to 2.4 billion, as against the expected figure of 2.6 billion
of its projected private sector
in the same
contributions, which amounted to 2.4 billion
within the public expected. Senate was able to collect a total of 3.2 billion
in the same
as against the projected figure of 2.2 billion,
within
representing 144% of projected collection within the period.
3.2 billion
Contributions in respect of the Senate seat also amounted to 52.6 billion within the same period.
Projected collection
Total
within
assets
the period.
and management
Contributions in respect of
have grown
Senate seat also amounted to
15.2 billion in December 2016
within the same period
to 71.69 billion in March 2024.
have grown,
representing over 350
billion in December 2016
increase within the
71.69 billion in March 2024.
The sustained growth of pension funds
representing
over
over 350
serves as vital capital for investment,
increase
infrastructural
within the 7-year
development,
period.
and job creation.
The sustained growth
pensioners
of pension
on the
fund
state pension payroll as of 31st December 2023 had their monthly pensions increased by 15%. Effective January 2024.
On the state pension payroll as of 31st
The
December 2023
indexation
their
rate
monthly pensions
has
increased
resulted
by
in an
15%.
additional expenditure
Effective
of
January
697.64 million.
The
to
15%
The total benefits expenditure
resulted in an
under the
additional
SNIS scheme
expenditure
is expected
of
to increase from 5.4 billion in 2023
The total
to
benefits expenditure
7.03
under the SNIS scheme
billion
is
in
expected to increase
2024.
from 5.4 billion
This
in
expenditure
2023
covers
to 7
an estimated 244,000
billion
pensioners
in 2024
on the SNIT pension payroll. SNIT also
This
seeks
expenditure covers
over 550 million from the deactivation of about 19,000 ghost pensioners
SNIT also
on the
saves
SNIT pension
over
payroll.
550 million
Permit me,
from
Madam
the
Chair, to
deactivation
reiterate
of about 19,000
at this
ghost
point
pensioners
that government will continue
on
to
the
exercise
SNIT
its fiduciary responsibility
payroll.
in the management
Permit
and
me,
protection
Madam Chair,
of
to
pension
reiterate
funds.
at this point that government will continue to exercise
Madam
its
Chair,
fiduciary responsibility
over the years,
in the management
the
and
Labour
protection
Department
of
has been
pension
faced
funds,
with a number of challenges which militate against its
Chair,
efficiency and
over the
effectiveness.
years.
The
Labour
ability of the department to carry out its mandate
number of challenges
has been gravely
which
affected by
militate against its
structural,
efficiency
human
and
resource, and
effectiveness.
logistical constraints,
The ability
including
of the
rundown
department to
offices
carry out its
at the
mandate
national,
has been
regional,
gravely
and
affected
district
by
levels.
structural, human resource, and
To address
logistical
this matter,
constraints, including
government with funding
rundown
from the World Bank
offices
is implementing
at
the
the
Ghana
national,
Jobs and Skills
regional,
Project
and
to
district
support
levels.
skills development and job creation.
To address this matter,
The Ministry of Employment and Labour Relations
implemented the
is
Ghana Jobs and
implementing
Skills
component
Project
3
to support
of
skills
the project,
development
which is
and job
focused
creation.
on improving the capacity of the Labour Department
The Ministry
for
of
enhanced
Employment and Labour
coordination
Relations
of the labour
is
market.
implementing component 3
Activities being
of the
undertaken
project, which is
include
focused
development and
on improving the
operationalization
capacity of
of
the Labour
one-stop
Department for
centralized
enhanced
labour market
coordination
database
of the labour market.
dubbed the Ghana
Activities
Labour Market
being
Information
undertaken
System
include
(GLL)
development and operationalization
GLMIS for short.
of one-stop centralized
The system,
labour market database,
which
dubbed
can be
the
accessed
Ghana Labour Market
on the World
Information
Wide
System,
Web
GLL,
www.glmis.gov.gh is designed
be
to
accessed
provide the main interface
on
that
the World Wide
facilitates
Web,
interaction between job seekers and employers.
glmis.gov.gh.
It is a web-based
It's
repository
designed
of
to
all
provide
labour
the
market
main
information
interface
designed
that facilitates
to enable stakeholders
interaction
to
between
make
job seekers
real-time
and
evidence-based
employers.
decisions on the
It is
labour
a
market.
web-based repository of
Through
all
its
labour
data
market
collection
information designed
functionalities
to enable stakeholders make real-time evidence-based
The system is
decisions on the
envisaged
labour
to
market.
become a reliable platform
Through its
for the
data
analysis and reporting of
functionalities,
information regarding skills in demand
The
to
system
influence
is
human
envisaged
capital
to
planning,
become a reliable
curriculum
platform
development,
for the
education,
analysis
and training.
and reporting of information regarding
This is expected
skills
to eventually
demand
to
and
influence
or
minimize
human
the
capital
long
planning.
cycle of job curriculum
Mismatch
development,
on education
unemployment,
and training.
and underemployment.
This is expected
Furthermore,
to eventually
as the system generates
and or
timely
minimize the long
reports
cycle of
regarding
job
the true
mismatch
state of the labour market,
unemployment, and
government will be in a
underemployment.
position, better
Furthermore,
position, to
as
make
the system
policy
generates
interventions
timely
for maximum
reports
impact
regarding the true
on the
state
labour
of
market.
the labour market.
The
Government will be in a
GLMIS
position
has an
better
inbuilt
position
portals
to
that
make
allow
policy
employers
interventions
to
for
declare
maximum
existing
impact
vacancies
for job seekers to upload their curriculum vita for job match
has an inbuilt portal.
As a result,
allow
government will be able to gather timely and reliable data
to upload
on the number of jobs created by job matching.
As a result,
to strengthen labor administration and regulations of the world of work, government is constructing an ultra-modern 4-story building, which is over 95%
administration
and regulations of the world of work. Government is constructing 16 new public employment centers,
which is over
under the project to complement the refurbishment of 48 existing ones across the country.
New public employment centers,
as I speak,
under
13 out of the refurbishment of 48 existing
under
ones
constructions have been completed
the country. These, as I speak, PECs are located in Yendi, Damango, Wa,
under constructions have been completed.
Akimoda, Odomasi, in the Sunyani West District
are located in
Yendi,
Damango,
Konongo,
Waliwali,
Ogatanga,
Dambai,
Akimoda,
Hohoi,
Odomasi,
and
in
Kenya.
the Sunyani West District.
Work is also progressing steadily
Konongo,
in Takwa,
Waliwali,
Atebubu,
Dambai,
and
Hohoi,
Bibiani.
Madam Chair, let me take this opportunity to officially
is also
inform the public that the national launch of this project will be done.
Madam
Chair,
let me take this opportunity to officially
inform the
so
public
you are all invited.
that the national launch of this project, government has procured over 80 motorbikes, 4 SUVs, and 21 pickup vehicles to enhance labor administration. Through this investment, government will also strengthen the early warning system to detect and avert industrial disputes and maintain a stable labor environment.
Through this investment,
government will also strengthen the early warning
and maintain a stable labor environment.
The ministry is recruiting job seekers for various vacancies in both the public and private space,
employment
for which they demand payment of some amount of money from applicants.
For various vacancies,
this situation is becoming so alarming, and I want to use this opportunity to say that under no circumstance will from any government agency
this situation
recruit people and demand
and I want
that
to
they
use
pay
this
money
opportunity
before they recruit them.
to say that
so
under no circumstance will any government agency
recruit
put up an
people
advert and demand
and indicated
that they pay money, you have to pay
them
so
much for that vacancy. Just tell the person that person is a scam,
and indicated
because it may not be coming from government. It's not coming from the Ministry of Employment and Labor Relations.
That vacancy, just tell the person.
In conclusion, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, because it may not be coming from government. It's not
that the Ministry of Employment and Labor Relations is poised to continue contributing to the vision of His Excellency the President. The Ministry will continue with the work
that the Ministry of
improving the
Employment and
welfare
Labor
of workers,
poised
and employers whilst
maintaining
the vision
a
of His
peaceful
Excellency the
labor
President.
front.
The Ministry will continue.
I wish to express my
with the
deepest
work
gratitude to
improving
all
the welfare
stakeholders
of workers
for their continuous
and
cooperation
employers
and collaboration with government
in addressing the concerns of labor.
I wish to express
Special
my deepest
gratitude
gratitude
to all
stakeholders
for their
the Parliament
continuous
of our country,
cooperation and
the Ministry of
collaboration with
Finance,
in addressing the concerns
the Ministry
of
of
labor.
National Security,
Special mentions
Ministry of
go
Education,
to
the Ministry of Health,
country,
Ghana
the Ministry
Employers
of Finance,
Association, Organized Labor,
the Ministry of National Security,
our development partners,
Ministry of
and
Education,
also the Ministry of Information.
Ministry of Health, Ghana Employers Association.
Through our combined
organized labor,
almost all the labor-related
development
issues
partners
that
and
threaten
also the
industrial
Ministry of
peace
Information
have been amicably resolved.
Through our
Government is
combined
committed to
effort,
ensuring that
almost all the
this industrial
labor-related
peace
issues that threaten
and
industrial
harmony
peace
continues
have
throughout
been
the year
amicably
as we
resolved.
work together to
Government
grow the
is
economy
committed to ensuring
towards
that
sustainable development.
This industrial peace
Maybe before I sign off,
and harmony continues throughout the
on a
year.
personal note, I
As
want
we
to
work together to grow the economy towards sustainable
extend a
development.
special hand of gratitude
Maybe
to His
before I
Excellency
sign
the
off,
President, Nana Addo Dankwa
On a
Akufo-Addo,
personal note, I want
and
to
his hardworking Vice President, who happens
extend a
also
special hand of gratitude
to be the flag bearer
to
of
His Excellency the
MPP,
President, Nana Addo
for
Dankwa
their
Akufo-Addo,
support, especially to me and to the
his
ministry,
hardworking Vice President, who happens
For
also to be the flag bearer of MPP,
their oversight,
for their support,
and their
especially to
advice
me and to
in
the
transforming the sector. On
For
that note, I bring my
their
presentation
oversight
to an end. Thank you.
their advice in transforming the sector. On that note, I bring my presentation to you, and I thank you.
The Ministry of Employment and Labour Relations has a vision
to sit in one of your negotiations. I think there was a labor issue, and we were invited to the conference room at the Ministry of Health. And that day, I think there was my perception about the work. We were invited to the conference room. My respect for you, Honorable Minister, and that day. Because the wisdom about the patience, what it really takes to lead such a sector, minister, and keep it peaceful. Because the wisdom that patience you need to write about, really takes, so that we all learn from the books. I'm also particularly impressed about the successes chalked you need to write implement agents, so that we all learn from the books. A year ago, I met a young woman, almost a year ago, in Kumasi, someone I hadn't seen in over a decade from Moshizongo. And I asked her what she was about. She said the YE had the garment model, someone I hadn't seen in over a decade. She applied on a portal, and they gave her training. She gave her a booth to do exhibition at Prempa Assembly Hall, and also gave her 18,500 Ghana cedis. Gave her training, startup, gave her, and because of that, her life has completely changed. And also gave her able to buy beads, buy fabrics, design her own things, and because of that, her life. And when you mention the 700,000. Able to buy 732,898 beneficiaries of the YE. When you mention to mind, and I knew the impact that has been created within that space. So thank you so much for building young people, building startups, building SMEs, giving hope to a lot of young people who would have really been distressed young people, if not for this intervention. Building SMEs. Thank you, Honorable Minister. Giving hope on that note, of young ladies and gentlemen, really been distressed. There is a very short documentary which will give a summary of what the ministry has achieved so far, about 10 minutes, after which we will move to the Q&A session and take your questions. Which will give a summary of what the ministry has achieved so far. If the technical team is not ready, let's move to the Q&A session. And take your questions. So please. Okay. If the technical team is not ready, if it is ready, let's move to the Q&A session. Please, you can go ahead.
The Ministry of Employment and Labour Relations has a vision to provide decent jobs for all workers in Ghana and Ghanaians working abroad. The Minister's vision is being actualized through the Labour Department to provide decent jobs for all workers in Ghana and Ghanaians working abroad. To ensure that the government generates accurate, timely and holistic data on the labour market to inform policy decisions, the Ministry, in collaboration with the Labour Department, with funding employment decisions as part of the Ghana Jobs and Skills Project, with funding from the World Bank, has constructed 16 public employment centers. As part of this project is considered one of the main agenda of upgrading skills among the country's population, creating more and better quality jobs for the and improving job outcomes for the youth. Of upgrading skills among the country's population, creating more and better quality jobs and improving job outcomes for the youth.
Issues of employment we set out to do, and by doing that, we wanted to create a platform where every Ghanaian living everywhere in the country will have employment access, and by doing that, information. So we wanted to create a platform where available jobs are concerned. Everywhere. How were we going to do that? Access. We looked for various opportunities to develop more valuable jobs and also physical locations where people can go we looked for various information. This was not forthcoming. Both we made physical approaches to international organizations, including the World Bank, information. This was not forthcoming. Our proposal to come into aid. This resulted in the international jobs and skills, including the World Bank.
This documentary explores the massive transformational agenda at the labor offices and the public employment centers across the country. This documentary explores the massive transformational agenda at the labor offices and the public employment centers.
The mandate of the department had been employment intermediation, registering job seekers and linking them to employment opportunities, facilitating employment intermediation, and this is principally done through our public employment centers. Over time, employment opportunities, facilitating the department employment intermediation, and this is principally done market functions like industrial relations.
The Ghana Jobs and Skills Project requires the ministry to see to the operationalization of the Ghana Labour Market Information System, revamp public employment centers, and review government's youth employment and skill development programs. In line with the international conventions which governments of Ghana has committed to, the newly built public employment centers are programs and disability in line with the international conventions which government of Ghana has committed. The project coordinator provides insight into the level of support provided to facilitate smooth operations of the public employment centers. The project coordinator provides insight into the level of support provided to facilitate smooth operations of the public employment centers.
The capacity at the Labour Department, the main was at its the ministry lowest level, and we needed to do something to was the fact that, the ministry through the Labour Department will be able to perform the 8 functions and provide level and quality services to bring it out to job seekers. So that the ministry through the Labour Department will be able to
key functions and mandates of the Labour Department and public employment centers include create an attractive and conducive environment for the Labour Department and its public employment centers for hosting the Ghana Labour Market Information System and conducive training on career guidance, job counseling, job matching services, career guidance, organized job fairs, etc. on career guidance. The Ghana Labour Market Information System is designed as an automated, decentralized, and integrated web-based portal. The Ghana Labour Market Information System platform for the collection, processing, evaluation, and dissemination of labour market information. It serves dissemination of labour market information.
We'll move to the last part of today's briefing, which is the Q&A session. But before then, Honourable Minister, I was really excited when you tagged on the SNIT seed program of today's because I believe some member state schemes for the informal sector. Because I think if we can do more sensitization on that, it will really help, especially in the season of elections and introduction of manifestos. It may seem to appear that it's a new idea that is being floated around, but I know that there are pension trust companies who have also that who the new idea that is being floated around supervisory rule but I know that so that the pension trust companies put some schemes together for the members of the informal sector. And in no particular order, I know there is a cocoa farmers pension scheme. There is a cocoa abrabo members of the informal sector. There is a union of informal workers pension scheme. Cocoa farmers pension scheme. Beauticians, barbers, and so on. There is a GPRTU pension scheme. Union of informal workers. There is a pension for garages for traders. Then we have the SNIT seed program. There is a DPR, the informal sector scheme, and persons who are self-employed can also take advantage of. Then we so that they will have some where people in the informal sector form of insurance cover for old age. Can also take advantage. Thank you so much, Honorable Minister, for touching on that. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any question, this is the best time to ask. So I can see a hand at the back. Minister, for touching on that. If you raise your hand, the microphone will be brought to you. Let's start from the gentleman at the back. I think this is the best time to ask. Then we'll come to I can see a hand at the back. I would love to see the ladies as well. So will be brought to you. Let's start from the gentleman at the back.
Good morning. My name is Josh Crane and I work with TV3. In April this year, the International Labour Organization made some staggering revelation. The fact that in the next 12 years, the reserves of TV3 in April this year would deplete. The International Labour Organization, I'm sure the trust is aware of this, makes some staggering revelation. If this is the reality on the grounds, in the next 12 years, what are the short-term and long-term measures of the trust to mitigate this, and also I'm sure how is the trust managing and so contributors on the grounds apprehension. What are the short-term and long-term measures of the trust to mitigate this, and also how is the trust managing contributors apprehension?
Okay, thank you. Athamesa from GNA. So we'll go to John. As Minister rightly said, last year, Athamesa from GNA, you conducted payroll from GNA. Monitoring, as Minister rightly said, last year government expenditure reduced by you conducted payroll 45 million. Monitoring. I want to give further insight into some of the positives expenditure you saw during the exercise and how million the exercise brought about the reduction in government expenditure. Some of the positives give us insight into it. You saw during the regarding the new labor how that I want to find out about the current stage in government expenditure because I had one provision which I was really interested regarding the new paternity. Bill that which I've been I want to enjoy paternity leave as well. The female has been cheating us for a long time. Really interested. We want to enjoy paternity leave. I want the current stage. I being a male, I want to enjoy paternity leave. And then with the SNIT issue recently, the SNIT came into the we want to media space for. I want the current stage regarding the investment of its assets. With the SNIT, I heard its asset has increased from 15 billion to media space 71 billion. So I want to find out. The issue regarding Labadi assets, the of Labadi hotel, and then some of the assets to bring in private sector. So I want to find out the issue regarding Labadi. Thank you.
Thank you for the question.
Of Labadi
hotel,
thank you.
And some of the assets
to bring in private sector. Most of my questions were partly asked, but to just ask it right. My name is John Awuni, Kesben Television.
Yes.
Thank you. What,
if we can do
how is the ministry most of addressing the issue of casualization and then contract work in Kesben sectors in the country? And then secondly, on the SNIT issue, what is the issue doing to make sure that casualization and then contract work in various sectors? What I was saying on three. And then secondly, on the SNIT issue, what is the issue doing to make sure casualization and then contract work in various sectors? And the second one was on the SNIT, but this time around says that can generate something so that in future will not be selling the SNIT, but this time around a lot of issues. Thank you. SNIT assets, how is the ministry supervising investment in SNIT assets that can generate something so that in future will not be selling?
My good friend, my name is Nana Poku from Daily Searchlight. I have two questions, but the last one is one or two in one. My first question has to do with, can you put your finger on the number of jobs this government has created since it came to power from 2017 up to date? Because there are conflicting number of jobs or employment the government has made since it came to power from 2017 up to date, coming from different ministries. My second question has to do with the critical mass of SH and jobs or employment the government has made coming out these days since it came to power. Because since the inception of the
free SHS. A lot more people are graduating and coming out and massing up tertiary and government companies are very minimal. Because very meager. Since what are we going to do as a nation? Free SHS. A lot more problem because it's going to be a problem. And the link with that is the question on what steps are you taking when anybody goes to training college or what about this critical problem facing the country of education and nursing training or medical school. The person expects that the government employs in your head. Anybody goes to training, and becomes a problem when they stay in the house. Is it obligatory? And becomes a problem when they stay in the house 3 years, 4 years without employment. Is it obligatory? Is it obligation on government, or is it the duty of government to employ such people at all
costs? Thank you very much. My name is Ebenezer Kofi Amponsa with the Daily Guide. Minister, thank you. I think that we need to commend, first of all, commend Ebenezer for the work they've done so far. In the past, getting data from Minister, the ministry was very difficult. I think that we need to commend, first of all, get information on labor for the work they've done so far. With what we've seen, at least you can put a hand on some few. The ministry was very difficult if you want to do some stories on them. So thank you. Get information on labor. Secondly, I want to find out what the ministry is doing in terms of child labor. It seems to be on the ascendancy now. If I look around, secondly, I want to find out Accra, for instance, what the ministry is doing in terms of child labor. You see a lot of people. It seems to be on the from the rural areas, wherever they are coming from. Look around. So from per my assessment, it looks like, for instance, you go to an ascendancy. I want you to you see a lot of people. Tell us something about that. What your ministry is doing, wherever they are coming from. Then, so from per my assessment, the information you shared with us concerning the data on the jobs, something about can that. You finish up with how many of them are temporary, how many of them are permanent? Information you shared with us.
Thank you.
Concerning
I believe
the
we
data
can take
on the jobs,
the Honourable
can you
Minister's
finish up with how many of them are temporary,
and then we'll come back to you for the next set of questions. Thank you. I believe we can take the Honourable Minister's responses now, and then we will come back to you for the next set of questions.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. I'm impressed with the kind of questions that have come up. It suggests that very much people really follow what we do, and that you really understand the kind of questions that have come up. Before we came here, I told my heads of department and that they should really understand this is not just my press conference, press briefing. But before we came here, a question my head came up, and it relates to your area. I will invite you to come. Not just my press conference, press briefing. So don't be surprised if I invite some heads of departments to come area. I will invite you to come and answer. So don't be surprised if I invite Mr. Director General, some heads of departments. Most of the questions relates to you. So come here on the issue of ILO's review of your Mr. Director General of SNIT. Most of the questions relates to you. So come here on the issue of ILO's review of your.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. As we noted at the press conference that we had, very much, Honourable Minister, when this ILO ladies and gentlemen came out. As we noted the ILO report, press conference that let's say the external actuarial evaluations that are done for SNIT are done every 3 years. It wasn't the first report. The ILO report, in fact, or let's say a previous report said SNIT will be out of business in 2025. Are done every 3 years. We are still here. It wasn't the first report. One report said that we'll be out of business in 2034. Said SNIT will be out of business in 2036. We are still here. What the last one said. One report said that we'll be out of business a lot of alarm in 2034. Let me make these few points. That is what the last one said. SNIT and has never defaulted on pension payments. I am very confident that few points. SNIT will be around long after, has never defaulted on pension payment. It certainly was around before I joined. I am very confident that if for those of you who listened around long to the Public Accounts Committee, it certainly was around before I joined. Show a surplus in 2022. For those of you who listened in 2023, the provisional figures indicate that the surplus that will show a surplus will be much larger than the surplus in 2022, which in 2023 the provisional accounts figures indicate, and the indicated figures for 2024 are that much larger. Will be showing a surplus in 2022, which we indicated, and this is driven by a combination of an improvement in our net contributions and net investment will still be showing a surplus. The ILO report, and this is driven by us, a combination delivered to us, an improvement in our net provides us with guidance, net investment, and tells us what the ILO report, the issues are, assets, and we then take delivered measures to ensure, provides us with guidance that and tells the scheme is sustainable. Indeed, we continuously take measures to improve SNET to ensure. And so I would leave it at that. But what I want to assure you is that continuously take measures. The ILO to improve is no cause for alarm, and so I would we are working to improve at that. Thank you very much. What I want to assure you is that
don't go yet. You have another one on the diversity
no cause for alarm, and that we are working to improve SNET. Thank you very much.
Don't go yet. You have another one.
On the divestiture, I think the key point is as follows. I think the gentleman who asked the question. On the divestiture, I think the key point is as follows. Would you always have the same goods in the shop? I think the gentleman who asked the question. The answer is no. Likewise, we run a portfolio. At any time, always have the same goods in the shop. We would change some of the assets we hold. The answer is no. It should not be a surprise that we run if we look at our portfolio at any time and there are some assets that are underperforming. We would change some of the assets. We would look to correct that. That is so. It should not be a surprise sale of if we look at our portfolios was and about. There are some assets that are underperforming. All we are looking to do is to improve that is what the performance of the underlying portfolio stake, and that is really it was about. And all we are looking to do is to improve.
Thank you very much.
The performance of the
if they need me, I'll call you again.
And that is really it.
Thank you very much. Atamensa also veered into payroll issues and the savings there. The chief executive of Fair Wages and Salaries Commission is also here. I will invite him to come and tell us the savings how they were able to achieve that success. Fair Wages and Salaries Commission is also here. I will invite him to come and tell us how they were able to achieve that success.
Honorable, thank you for the opportunity. The payroll, this is not an attempt to give a speech. The payroll monitoring actually covered more than 250 institutions, but the ones that we visited, this is not an is the 120. The payroll monitoring. My good friend wanted to know more than, so I was just 250 institutions, but the ones that we the payroll monitoring is the 120. A lot of insights. Good friend wanted to know to the extent to which we have implemented the single spine pay policy. The payroll monitoring, and it points out to the fact that the time has come. Just like the labor law is to the extent going to receive a review, the single spine pay policy, begin to look at and reviewing the single spine pay policy. All indications are pointing towards that. Going to receive a review. Of course. It has also enhanced attendance in some institutions, reviewing the single spine in some areas when they heard that the fair wages is around. We had typical examples. It has also enhanced attendance, but once they heard fair wages is coming, and productivity, they were all trooping into the offices. When they heard that the fair wages is around, it has also minimized. We had typical incidents of ghost reporting to work. But once they heard fair wages is minimized, they were all trooping into the issues of. Of course, it has also a drain on public purse. The incidents saw the figures. But the figures that my honorable minister reported is basically for those on the single spine who are on the IPPD. You saw the figures. There are single spiners who are not paid through the controller structures. It's basically for those on the single spine. We also covered the SOEs and the. So if we actually want to quantify, Osafo mentioned some savings. Of course, once you are left as a ghost worker, you will not surface again to go and demand your pensions. And he mentioned the savings there. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. So, apart from making savings, he says it has enhanced productivity as well. Atamensa still wanted to know when the Labour Act is going to be implemented. We are, for now it is a bill. It's not been passed into an act yet, but we've passed it through the necessary stages at the first level. It is yet to go to cabinet, and I want to believe that in the next week or two, it will be forwarded to cabinet for cabinet's review. But the point I made earlier about introducing paternity leave is something which all our social partners subscribe to. Maybe that one may not be as long as that of maternity. We agreed at our stakeholder meeting that we start with a modest of 5 days for fathers and 14 weeks for mothers. On the issue of casualization and contract works, for contract works, yes, I don't think it is bad for anybody to be engaged in a contract work. There's nothing wrong with that. But casualization, if it goes beyond a certain limit, then it becomes a problem. It is part of the things the new labor bill seeks to address. We want to avoid a situation where people take advantage of people and use them for casual purposes without giving them the necessary job security and what have you. So the new act is certainly going to address that. So just hold yourself in peace, and that will be addressed. Nana Poku wanted to know more about jobs created by, since 2017, and employment created. I'm very happy you use the two terminologies, jobs and employment. All employment can be said to be jobs, but it is not all jobs that can be said to be employment. I want Ghanaians to know the difference between the two. As a ministry that is responsible for issues of employment and labor relations, and as an active member of ILO, anytime the ministry is reporting, it reports on jobs created, which is a universal set of all forms of engagement. However, for other purposes, people choose to also talk about employment generated. When job is more sustainable, then it becomes employment. Let me just give a typical example. If I have, say, a whole say a hold to be dug for something in my house, and I needed people to assist me do that, I just go into the street and hire people to come and do that for a fee. The moment they work and are paid, they are said to be in what? Job. But you cannot say that by performing that 1 hour or 1 day work, that person is in employment. Employment is a more sustainable job. So I guess you are getting the difference. So as a labor ministry, anytime we are reporting on jobs, we report on all persons that have been engaged to do 1 or 2 other jobs within the period, within the reference period. That number, we have said it, and I want to repeat, is over 5 million persons. But then, if you are talking of those who have had a more sustained job, what we call decent jobs, for which they can rely on daily basis, they have job security and what have you. That is 2.3 million. And that one is employment. So there's no confusion between the two at all. Depending on where you are coming from, you choose to provide which data you want. I have heard His Excellency the Vice President on several occasions mentioning the figure that the MPP since 2017 has created 2.3 million jobs. He's not lying. The data supports that. But then at the same time, if you extend it beyond employment to cover jobs, then the number of jobs that have been created is over 5 million jobs. I guess you are getting the difference between the two. Thank you. And then the future, especially school. Yes, job creation, let me say, it's a collective responsibility of the entire economy. No one sector has the responsibility of creating jobs. In actual fact, for those of you who have had opportunity to travel outside this country, jobs are provided mainly by the private sector. Our friends, our brothers, our sisters who live outside, I can say that about 90% of them do not work in government establishments. They work for the private sector. But I agree, the private sector, why government's main preoccupation is to build a resilient economy so that the private sector will have confidence in and then will invest. As and when more and more persons are investing, then we'll have more persons also getting work to do. Let me take the media space as an example. In the past, we used to have GBC as the main state, as the main broadcasting unit in the country. When the media space was liberalized and more persons invested in that sector, we had so many people being employed within the sector. So yes, I agree, government will have to come up with programs and plans to be able to get jobs for these people. But I want to say that the best way of providing that is government committing itself to building a resilient economy and expand the economy so that people will get jobs to do. Child labor. We have signed on as a country to so many protocols which commit us to ensuring that child rights are adhered to. One of the cankers we have in society is the issue child labor is on the ascendancy. I beg to differ, even though I cannot also say that child labor has been removed. Let us make a clear distinction between child labor and child work. It is not every work that the child does that can be considered to be child labor. But when that work is hazardous to the development of the child, then it is termed as what? Child labor. In Ghana, a survey that we have done indicates that child labor is more prevalent within the agricultural economy, also in the fishing sector and artisanal mining sector. That is not to say that they may not be prevalent in some other places. As a nation, we have what we call National Plan of Action to combat child labor, for which so many organizations have committed themselves to and are providing services which are helping to solve this. For instance, the more and more we get many Ghanaians in the classroom, Ghanaian children in the classroom, in a way we are removing them from issues of child labor. As we speak, the data available to me tells me that about 98% of Ghanaians who are supposed to be enrolled in primary school are enrolled. The number can even be more. Those who are supposed to be in junior high school, about 95% of them are there. So a bit minimal. Perhaps one other thing that we have not succeeded in doing is to contextualize child labor within our cultural setup. I was grown up in a village. I accompanied my mom to the farm over weekends and sometimes during vacations. I used the opportunity to learn the art of farming. And now I can say that besides being a minister, I'm a farmer as well. So, would you say that training from your parents in the trade that they have been in it is purely a child labor act? This has been one area where we have been actually contesting with the international community on a definition of child labor that will fit our cultural setting. Otherwise, we will criminalize any form of work that is being done by the child. But for me, what is more important is that the energies of the child should not be exerted on work, but rather on education. So far as the child is allowed the opportunity to study, and progress, in his or her educational life. For me, any other thing the child does is perhaps a way of informally also learning an activity. So the data available to us do not support the fact that child labor is on the ascendancy, even though I see street children moving up and then the numbers increasing. I think I've attempted to answer virtually all the questions which came up. So I will rest, Madam Minister. Okay. My attention. Yes. One of you indicated that pension numbers, the assets under management of SNIT had moved up from 15 billion to 71 billion. No, I never said so. What I said was that assets under management of pensions, I was not related to only SNIT. When we talk of pensions, SNIT is the mandatory tier 1 pension manager. But when you come to tier 2, there are other operators there. So not only that of pensions. So in your report, be very careful in attributing the growth to whoever it was meant. So one tier 2, which adds up to the 71 billion. I just want to make that clarification. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. So we'll take the next set of questions. If there are any hands, I can see 2 hands at the back. Okay, we'll take it as a follow-up. Okay.
Yeah, Mpache Fremi Kofi Chairman, me Kofi Go Media. Also for we dey come out there. The woman here say, "Omo a why any of my in previous besenga. Kwan ben so na ye hwe omama omanya adwuma ye. Ana omo a ya bo omdwetire no. Kwan ben so na ban na hwe se dwetire ne be ye adwuma. Enkwankwa yesa dada ne bia. Nti se de be monitor ne. Na number 2, nsamanfo na omo tiase wu se nsamanfo. Ah ye ka se aban dwuma ye fo ina anyusu ena himfa na madru. Thank
you, Kofi. Okay.
Right, Minister, my name is Obed. I report for GH1 TV and Star FM. Yesterday, 3 teacher unions, namely NAT, NAGRAT, and CCT, issued a press release threatening to embark on an industrial action because of some grievances. Has that come to your attention? if you may, some of these grievances include 12-month arrears of their tier 2 deductions and delays in upgrading, difficulties in reinstating and rank reduction. And then my second question is about minimum wage. Yesterday, Public Accounts Committee cited some district assemblies of paying below the minimum wage. Has this come to your attention, and how are you going to reverse this trend? And my last question about the figures for the employment. Let's forget about the jobs. Employment. Can you help us with the fine details, sector by sector, how many number of people have been employed, so that it can help us do the validation? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, Nana.
Yes. Honorable Minister, my third question was not answered. I asked whether it is the obligation or duty of government to employ people who finish college of education and medical institutions or professionals, because you see some nurses, trainees sitting home, and so we are expecting the government to call us. He has not called us, so we don't have employment. And I don't know whether it's an act of parliament that gives authority to government to employ them, or it is because everybody thinks in this country that whenever you finish tertiary institution, necessarily government must employ you. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, please.
Good morning. My name is Clankson. I work with Asasi Radio. So my question is that the Ghana Association of University Administrators, they say they have some outstanding allowances over $1 million.
Can you take it again?
Okay, so I was saying that the Ghana Association of University Administrators, they say they have some outstanding allowances, the vehicle allowance, off-campus allowance, and all of that. So they are threatening to strike coming Friday. So I wanted to ask the minister whether he's aware of that.
Okay. Are there any hands? If not, I take that to be the last question. We'll take Honorable Minister's responses and also his concluding remarks.
Thank you very much. I didn't know we have a lot of labor journalists here. Maybe after the session, I will ask my to offer some of you opportunities to do further training so that you can even up your game. We thank you for how far you have brought us anyway. We are so grateful. Kofi, why you wanted to know how we are helping the beneficiaries to keep their businesses. In the past, most of the models which were run by the YE had a 2-year cohort period. So, for instance, we needed people to support the educational system. So we invite persons who are interested to go to the rural communities to go and teach for 2 years. After 2 years, your period ends and then you come home. Then another set of persons will be recruited. We realize that if we continue to do that, we'll just be recycling the unemployed persons. So what we are now doing is that we are, even for those that are doing a 2-year term, we link up with their respective mother institutions. For instance, if it is GES that we are working with, how do they also help us? Said that by the time the 2-year ends, such persons are also admitted into the teacher colleges of education so that they can go and further their educations and then become professional teachers. But then for a more sustainable jobs, what we have now put our focus on is to make sure that we give persons skills. Skills are living jobs. Jobs that nobody can take future of work. And the outcome of that study is that there are so many jobs that we see today that may not necessarily exist going into the future. In the past, in my community, for any young person coming up, the first job which naturally you go into was farming. Now you go, so naturally, persons who are coming from such community, unless perhaps you diversify your job opportunities, you may not be able to do meaningful work that can make you economically competitive. So ILO now recommends that to give a more sustainable job to persons, we have to deepen the issues of TVET for young persons. That is why the president, in his own wisdom, way back in 2018, directed that a TVET we should create a TVET service that will regulate the TVET sector and also give people an opportunity to have a different career path of development. And he further even made it easier by also allowing persons who are operating within that area to have a hand in the free SHS that he brought into being. So the YEA is now more focused on skill training. Like Madam said, a lot of people have been trained in apparel. There are so many things happening in Ghana, and sometimes I wonder whether we as Ghanaians even know that such good things are happening. Just around, unfortunately, I was not brought up in Accra here, so I don't know the names of the suburbs too well. But when you are going to Cocoa Board, just where you have the UT Heights, opposite that place, there's a small path. If you go there, there are some garment factories there. If you look at the number of persons they engage, it will amaze you. Most of these persons that they engage are persons that they pick from the streets and gave them training sometimes for only 1 month, and they are using them. Thousands and thousands of persons running different shifts and what have you. We took a cue from that and decided that we will let Ghanaian young persons who are interested in garment go into that. We gave people money to train them and to also set them up. And like Madam said, over 2,000 of such persons have been deployed throughout the country, and they have not just been trained, they have also been given money to expand their businesses so that they can engage additional hands. I am of the view that such persons trained in such businesses will have a lifelong vocation. They don't need to depend on anybody for jobs. Research upon research has shown that if you train somebody in TVET, the possibility of that person employing themselves is 67%. Other than that of grammar education, where the possibility of that person employing themselves is only 5%. So you see the difference. So if you want to solve the problem of unemployment, the best way to go is to go the TVET way. Yesterday at Techiman, some 10,000 persons that have learned different types of trades were given startup packs to enable them begin their lifelong vocation. I forgot to answer this question about whether or not it is an obligation of government to engage nurses and teachers who have been trained. Yes, there is no pact which says that if one completes a particular level of education, that person ought generally to be recruited by government. I haven't seen it yet. I don't know there's any enactment that says that. But there's a social contract between government and such persons, because these persons were sponsored by government in their training. So if they come out and they are not recruited, in a way, it is like government has sponsored your education, spent money on you, and yet you are not working. There's no way government is recouping the investment it had made on you. That is why it has always been the preoccupation of government to make sure that such persons are recruited. But we do so also taking cognizance of the fact that the public space has a limit that it can absorb. So as and when vacancies are created, it is difficult to recruit such persons. That explains why sometimes there are backlogs and they had to wait for some number of years before they are engaged. But what we are seeking to do is to also explore the possibility of getting some of them exported to other countries that may need their services. But we want it to be controlled so that persons cannot take advantage of them and then be taking extorting monies from such innocent persons. We want to make sure that for any such arrangement, it will have to be a bilateral agreement between the government of Ghana and the government of that country. On the issue of minimum wage, I'm happy this question came up. In my text, I should have also mentioned that in 2017, when I assumed office as the Minister of Employment, the minimum wage was slightly around 8 cedis. But it has since moved up from 8 cedis to 18 cedis, even though I agree that it is still not the level that can make the worker comfortable. We are working towards improving it, but that is a record. When the minimum wage is determined, and I want to make this point quite clear, it will be unlawful for anybody that engages somebody to do some kind of work for him or her to pay that person below this agreed minimum wage. So if assemblies are indeed paying persons below the minimum wage, it is against the law. And such assemblies, I would direct the Chief Labor Officer to exert the necessary applications on them, because it is unlawful for you to engage and pay the person below the minimum wage. So, my brother, thank you very much for bringing this to our attention. On the issue of threats to strikes, it will be unfair on my part if I say that, in spite of the fact that we have had relatively peaceful industrial relations, it does not really mean that industrial issues do not come up. On daily basis, you have issues coming up, but perhaps what is more important is if these issues come up, how are they handled? How are they solved? Do we just sit down to allow them to degenerate, or we act on it to avoid any mishap? So for me, yes, we are aware of the issues of threats of strike by university administrators, and then we are also aware of that which was contained in the press conference issued by the 3 teacher unions. I want to assure you that we will engage with them, especially with that of the 3 teacher unions, on the issue of arrears of payment of tier 2 contributions. We have had some kind of agreement with them on a roadmap to the settlement of these arrears. if for any reason any of the parties to the agreement is not living to their obligations, I will make sure that we work hard to get them to do the needful to avoid any possible strike action on that front. Thank you.
Why you for now, Mashom? Quambens now, Mashom Jitan, Mamomo, Academy Monitana, and Conquayaqua, and some amphona, and say Ganaka, by you move to do saying, and I'm praying, and Pemposwaka could do saying. Medical Alpha, the Woody Chato, and some amphono, so what ye, Minia Benata, or more Ghana card, no, any payroll monitoring system now. You put in place no ama nsamanfo no bebre se say omuntimi bia bontini bio baby obufri no omaka no ne di kan ke say eno nko ano enam saade no ho aban sika no se no wakatua ho nko ano yatimi ate so by is it 345 million Ghana cedis. Enti empire ye bone say omobeka omamram omumba bio. But mabisa sa question we be that ebre bia sa asem we yetaika say ghost names no say wa ma wani anko ho a wo watimi ayi we ye free home na ochena so betimi ayeden ahyase. So exercise ebeye continuous so that as and when some might be a peja nitibia no na yakano ase enye payroll no munko pensions so ka ho because obi o ho a woko pension ebi kura wawu but enye known to senate na brebia omugu so eyeden etua ntia no so no say omo am pekwan bi so ahunu a obehwe na no so create problem. And now coming back to why ye the na some chire mo chire wo say say the why ye ade a wo ye pa ne say o mawo nsanudwuma na wa mawo nsanudwuma na kade a eka ho a ebeboa wo ama wo atimi ayede aye adwuma ntinura say obi ye carpenter wa quantity mu a yama no carpentry tools obi ye auto mechanical yama no tools obi ye electrician yamano tools obi ye hairdresser yamano hairdressing tools enti niema kade ye wo so ye de ma omo ni nyina no ye de ama omo but ade ba ko a eye innovation a ebi ensi e wo Ghana hada ene se sa nipa ya wa yi ama omo training ni nyina no omo asan e de omo edini ni omo numbers akọ artisan app bia omo akreti so. And to say, my father said, me a driver ni, me kwa na madrun sawam, na me car say ya. And ya feel na me kwa kwahwehwe ape fitani ewon sawam. Na fitani no kra me kwa kope no no. E de na kire say, wo ye fitani papa. Enti say me kwa app no so a, metimi akese, oh, I want a mechanic near me at nsawam. Obehu so omo a wayefo a training wo no. Omo diri be popo app. Then I invite one of them to come and work on my car. All but me wo GDA say and nam say ya tete no amani certificate nti adwuma wo ba be no so be dey ebeye adwuma papa. And this is the way we want to. So we oba na bia wo kwa sorry why you late. Na mutri enye. Enya fe na wo be ko saloon. Wo ko app no so a I want to send you can home service for and to okoya obehu say beautician ya tete no the one near you ne details beba no afre no aba fie no aba be dey no aba ye adwuma no ma no bibi kakra enti you feel say it is not just about training them but also giving them the market within which to operate. Thank you. I want to seize this opportunity to thank the Honorable Minister
for her reception and conducting this press briefing so well. I also want to thank our two chief directors for taking time to come and support us. My able deputy and my technical assistant for also supporting me, and all my heads of department. I am happy you all were able to make it. And for those of you who even had an opportunity to come and answer questions, I want to say thank you very much. I want to thank everybody, the press. You've been wonderful, and I'll keep to my word. I'll make sure that some of you are trained more in labor relations. We want to have press that have expertise in labor relations, so that when labor issues come and they are reporting, they will be able to report it accurately to the public. I am so grateful to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Minister, distinguished invited guests, our Chief Director and Directors of Ministry of Information, for making time for today's presser. I would also like to use the opportunity to thank our media partner, GBC. GTV has been picking this press briefing live from beginning to end. And to our social media teams, who are streaming the briefing on Facebook, at Ministry of Information, at Think Online, and also Kofigo Media, all streaming live on social media. Thank you so much. And we hope to see you again. Minister, this has been so interesting. We love labor issues. I thought it was going to be maybe a slow, boring conversation, but you realize that really we don't get such opportunities often. So this should be a see you again. Anytime you want to come back, our doors are open. We will create a platform for you to engage the public. Thank you, and God bless you all.